What is up, YouTube? So today we are talking about foot speed. Now, foot speed is something I like to talk about because I think in general, we don't spend a lot of time thinking about foot technique. We spend a lot of time about hands and paradiddles and rudiments and all this stuff, but when it comes to the foot, we're kind of just like, I don't know, play stuff and hope it works out. So these exercises I want to talk about today aren't just so that you can play crazy drum solos and whatever, but foot technique is important for a lot of reasons, and I think one of the most important and overlooked ones is you don't always get to play on your own kick drum pedal. So yeah, well, you might not be playing like blazing fast 16th note triplets with one pedal or whatever. There are times when you're playing a house kit and it's someone else's pedal, and if you only have enough technique to play on your pedal, it might not be good enough to just take that technique and play it on anything. It's kind of like what I've talked about with doubles. If you're playing your double stroke rolls with your hands and you're using pure rebound, not using your fingers, that's going to sound fine on snare drum, but when you go to a floor tom, it's going to sound terrible because the floor tom doesn't have as much rebound. And same with our pedal. If our foot technique is not solid, when we go play on other pedals, other people's kits, whatever, our foot technique isn't going to sound good. We're not going to be able to play doubles like we should. It's going to throw us all off. So I think foot technique is something worth thinking about. In general, I'm not going to get too nerdy into push-pull and heel-toe and all of that stuff, but here are a couple rules that I tend to follow. One, I play heel up. We could have a discussion about what's better, heel up, heel down. I think they're both valid. I think that do whatever is comfortable for you and maybe be a little bit comfortable with both. The second thing is I play heel up, but I also don't typically bury the bass drum beater. I typically let the beater come off of the head, which means my foot is kind of hovering. I'm never really playing too hard into the kick drum because a couple reasons. One, I always drop my heel when I'm not playing my kick drum because that relieves tension in my calf and in my leg, which means I'm not going to get tired as quick, which means I'm not going to be wasting energy. And two, I personally think that kick drums where you don't bury the beater sound better. It gives the chance for the kick drum to actually resonate and ring. It lets you do a lot more with tuning and muffling. You know, if you're always burying the beater, you can't really have a wide open bass drum because it doesn't sound good. So having mastery over not burying the beater is important to me. So if you bury the beater and you don't want to, or if you don't bury the beater and you want to learn how to bury the beater, like whatever, these exercises are going to help with that. But those are just a couple general rules that I kind of follow, and that's as specific as I'll get in the actual techniques I use. So today I have 3 exercises for you. You can get the sheet music down below, so make sure you download that, and let's jump into it. So this first exercise is pretty easy. It's just alternating hand, hand, foot, foot, and it's every variation in 16th notes you could do with that. So we have 4 measures of 16th notes. And the first measure is hand, foot, foot, hand. You do that 4 times. The second measure is foot, foot, hand, hand. You do that 4 times. Third measure is foot, hand, hand, foot. And you do that 4 times. And the fourth measure is hand, hand, foot, foot. And basically all this is doing is training your foot to play doubles, which is good. And it's also training your foot to alternate playing a single and then have 2 hands in between and then playing a double, or a single, have 1 hand in between and playing a double. That kind of motion of playing a single right after a double or a double right after a single or whatever is really good. You know, I think it's pretty easy for our foot if we're into this whole just like hand, hand, foot, foot, hand, hand, foot, foot, hand, hand, foot, foot. Our foot kind of gets used to that double motion and it has a chance to warm up. And once we get into that exercise, we're not really working that much about our foot. But if we challenge our foot to play a single and then a double and then a double and then a double and then a single and then a single and then a double, if we mix up what our foot is playing, we get more results. We get a better result out of it and we get more control with our foot. So the first exercise sounds like this. The second exercise comes directly from one of my favorite drummers on planet Earth. His name is Dorico Watson. I had the privilege of studying with Dorico at Belmont University, where I went to college, and he gave me this exercise, and it revolutionized my foot, my speed, my control, everything. But essentially what you're doing is you're playing groups of 1 to 5, and then from 5 to 1 in 16th notes. And between every grouping, you're leaving a 16th note rest. So you get 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. It's actually 2 bars of 4, 4, and a bar of 2. All that sounds crazy, but here's how it sounds. That exercise will really challenge your foot. Once you start to speed it up, it just gets crazy. And the reason is, again, you're mixing up playing singles, doubles. Usually we only focus on exercises that we're doing singles or doubles with our foot. But what about triple strokes? What about 4 strokes? What about 5 strokes in a row with our foot? That gets a lot more difficult. And this exercise switches really quickly between all those groupings: 1, 2s, 3s, 4s, and 5s. That's why it is such a good exercise. It is super hard. Thank you, Dorico. This is the best exercise ever. Third exercise is something I stole from Benny Greb. He has a DVD called The Language of Drumming, and in it he talks about what he calls the alphabet, what a lot of marching people call a grid. But basically it's just you take 16th notes, you have an accent pattern. If you have one accent, you can place it on the first 16th note, or the second 16th note, or the third 16th note, or the fourth 16th note. If you have 2 accents, you can place it. There's all these places you can place 1 accent, 2 accents, 3 accents, or 4 accents. So essentially all we're doing is we're going to play every single variation of a 16th note accent pattern over the course of several measures. Your hi-hat's playing 16th notes, your snare drum's playing 2 and 4, and your kick drum moves through this grid. So that at a slow tempo sounds like this. Again, the benefit of this exercise is it's not just groups of doubles or groups of singles or whatever, it's mixing it up. When you're switching from 1E and a 2E and a 3E and a 4E and a 1E and a 2E, you're forced to play 4 notes in a row and then immediately go back to playing 3 notes in a row. That's super difficult. Our foot is not good at that naturally, so it's really going to push your foot speed and your foot control. Before I go, the point of all these exercises is not to play them super quick right away, because you need to get this stuff clean and controlled before you speed it up. Playing through these exercises really sloppy and whatever is not good. No one wants that. You don't want that. Do yourself a favor, take this stuff slow, download the sheet music so you can take these exercises to the practice room and just throw one of these exercises at the beginning of your practice sessions, and I promise it'll make a huge difference. If you like this video, hit subscribe. Comment below, what do you like to do to work out your foot, or if you have questions about foot technique or other foot exercises or drums, music, whatever in general, put them down in the comments. Hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, because I have new lessons coming out every week, and I'll see you in the next lesson.